I am back. I should be saying that we are back, but obviously I'm alone, right? If you guys remember who I am or me and my cousin, what we used to do, we used to go by Talk City Podcast, right? Yes, I know it's not pronounced as Toxicity. It's pronounced Talk City, right? And the last time we uploaded was 2023, and it's been 2 years now since the last time we uploaded. And, to put it all short, it's because it was like a lot, specifically on me, just because I had to edit and post. No, my cousin would do the posting, but it's just the editing process. It takes a long time, especially since this isn't my only focus. I also worked, and the main thing was that I was also getting my master's degree, and alhamdulillah, I finished all that. Yeah, it was just a lot on my plate. I felt like I could get it done, but it was just a lot. It took a lot from me, and I just couldn't do it, if I was being completely honest. So yeah, we didn't stop because, whoever was following us on TikTok, especially TikTok and Instagram, we would get a lot of these comments for people not respecting our opinions on this, the GOAT debate. And we love talking about it, or specifically, I love talking about it. But it's just that my cousin, who's not here with me, didn't enjoy talking much about soccer. He loves to play it. He loves to watch it here and there. But his main sport is UFC, MMA. He loves MMA and loves boxing. So when I told him about the idea of coming back and let's do these videos or the podcast, we used to do a podcast, he said, he's not interested in just talking about soccer. The whole podcast was not just about soccer, but I guess like we were known as speaking specifically about Ronaldo and Messi. And that is kind of, I'll take blame for that, and that is because I was just getting back into soccer, so I didn't keep up with it, or football. I didn't keep up with it like consistently throughout my whole entire life. I kept switching between basketball and football, but now since late 2021, I got back to it, and I love talking about it. I love watching it. I love the sport. It's not a big sport in America. It is a big sport, but it's just not as big as in Europe, which is why whenever I was in America, my love for it kind of like falls back down. But now it's been back up, and I love talking about it. And my cousin, he loves talking about it as well, but just not as much, I guess. I guess he doesn't want to be known just for that. So I told him, hey, whenever, let's say I do a video about UFC or a fight or whatever, then he could come on, and then we talk, just like how we did with the Talk City podcast, right? So yeah, the new name of this podcast is Riyal Roots. And it's deeper than what it is for me. That's the name I came up with. So if you look at the spelling, right, Riyal, Riyal, that's like a currency, a form of currency for many Arab countries. But for Yemen specifically, because that's where I'm from, the currency name is Riyal, right? Also, for my roots, right, because I want the name to kind of represent me. I want the name to present who I am, and not just exactly what this channel is going to be about. So Riyal Roots, it talks about my roots, right? My religion, my culture, growing up, and all sorts of things. I didn't want to limit myself to just one thing. Obviously, if you sound it out, Riyal, it sounds like Real Madrid, right? I love the club. I love Real Madrid. That's my number one club. So that kind of goes along with the way I worded it, because I feel like most of the time I probably am going to be talking about football, more specifically in La Liga, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Girona, Athletic Club, all those other clubs in Spain, and a little in the Premier League. That's kind of what I'm heading towards. And so that's the whole rebrand name. And I've always wanted to do this. I miss doing this, but I just couldn't overwhelm myself. And I feel like now that I got my master's out the way, I feel like I'm going to have a little more time, a little more consistency, and a little more, I guess, motivation to keep going. Because, like I said, again, I love talking, and especially if the whole community that I build or we build, if my cousin ever comes back, end up growing, and we kind of all have this conversation and we all talk about specific topics, I feel like it's going to be fun, and that's something that I'm going to really enjoy. So yeah, that's where I've been. That's kind of the update. That's everything that's been happening. Not a lot of people remember who I am, because we barely grew a following. But my name is Ayman. If you guys want to pronounce it as Ayman, you can. My cousin Shaib was with me, but now probably not as often. Maybe not forever. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever gonna come back. But yeah, so this is the comeback, I guess you could say, the comeback. And we grew some of the following mostly on TikTok and Instagram, where we kind of gained a small, like, I guess, support base, a small community. Specifically, since the topics was purely about Ronaldo and Messi, it was kind of revolving around those people. But yeah, Ronaldo is still my GOAT, right? And I love Messi. People think I hated him, but I didn't, right? I'll probably speak about this in another video. But yeah, recently, Portugal just beat Spain in the 2025 Nations League, and I was really happy. I wanted to see Ronaldo lift another international trophy, and Spain had Real Madrid players representing it, and I would have also loved if Spain won it, but I wanted more Portugal because Ronaldo is kind of like my favorite player of all time, and he's near the end of his career, and it's a nice feeling to see him lift up another trophy and at a big stage as well, right? A lot of people see the Nations League as a trophy that's a friendly trophy. They don't see it as a major trophy. And if you're comparing it to like the Euros, if you're comparing it to the World Cup, then yeah, probably it's not as big as those trophies, right? But I feel like the Nations League, since it's just a recent trophy that was added or a recent competition, I feel like a lot of people are going to see it as a friendly just because it's something that's new. But if you look at the competition, it's not like it's like an easy competition where one team is kind of consistently going to win it, right? If you look at, for example, just this tournament, right? We had strongest countries, European countries, go up against one another, right? We saw Portugal go up against Germany, France against Spain. Before that, we saw Croatia. So there's a lot of strong countries in that tournament, which makes it a tournament worth fighting for and a trophy worth fighting for. So, seeing Ronaldo break down, I think it's bigger than just his legacy. I think he loves his country. He always talks about winning for Portugal, his nation. There's a recent interview where he said he misses lifting up trophies, right? It's been a while since we saw him lift up a trophy. So it was a nice feeling. It was a really nice feeling. I loved it. And I'm sure like people who don't support Ronaldo or who supports Ronaldo kind of felt for him, right? You saw him break down, go on his knees, he started crying. You saw the Portugal national team, they're all kind of surrounding him and celebrated with him and made him kind of the main focus, which was nice to see. We all expected Lamine Yamal, right, to like kind of have this crazy performance, especially against Portugal, right? We saw how he did against France, and we saw how he did with Barcelona this season. The kid is amazing, right? We all thought that Portugal was going to struggle because if Spain beat France and scored 5 goals, who would have thought that Portugal was going to withstand that? Yet they did, and they won through penalty shootout, right? So, Lamine Yamal, even though he didn't perform well and he got subbed off, I feel like he still has a lot of potential. In my personal opinion, I feel like he got nervous and all the pressure, kind of got to him. The comparisons at a very, very young age, and for him to go up against one of the greatest players of all time, and kind of the narratives on social media building up around Yamal and Ronaldo, you kind of see how that pressure builds up on somebody. And if there's any person who could withstand that pressure, right, we would assume it was Lamine Yamal, right? But maybe that pressure did get to him. We saw him fail a lot of dribbles. We saw him fail some of those passes. He did one play where it led to a goal, and kind of that's about it. But yeah, it's not the end of him, and I pray that there's no injuries in his career that might change his style. I pray that none of that happens. And I'm sure that Spain is still going to win. In my opinion, they're the favorites to win the next World Cup. I feel like they're a really strong team, and especially the way they played, especially in Euros and in this tournament, I feel like they look unstoppable. And even though Portugal did beat them, it was through penalty shootouts, and it's not like it was like a dominant performance by Portugal, right? So Spain is still that strong force. They're still really, really, really strong. And yeah, when Pedri got subbed off, I feel like he kind of controlled. Pedri has that crazy control in a game where even Barcelona suffer without Pedri, right? Lamine Yamal and Pedri are kind of the main focus in Spain and in Barcelona. But I feel like for the Spain national team, they need Pedri because Pedri really, really has that control in the midfield that no other player can do. And even though Lamine Yamal has the control and has those moments where plays do fall through successfully through him, Pedri kind of is the person who's like in that central control and has those key passes, and he makes those key passes as well, which I feel like as soon as he got subbed off, that kind of like showed that Spain has no chance. Rafael Leao had a crazy performance. He came on and a lot of great chances came through by him. Man of the match performance, I feel like we all kind of didn't expect that. But at the same time, he was, I believe, like the best left back that season. So it was good to see that he kind of stood up and stood out in the Portuguese team. So Portugal, the Nations League winner, and that kind of sets the tone for the World Cup, right? Even though I don't feel like the Portuguese team will win the World Cup, I feel like that they have a really good chance, right? But it's so unpredictable during the World Cup, right? Last World Cup was amazing, a lot of great games, and with more countries playing in this World Cup and it being in the United States, I feel like it might even surpass the World Cup from last season. We don't know, but we just have to wait and see, right? So, that's kind of it. I just wanted to make this kind of like my comeback video. I wanted to talk about Spain and Portugal and that final specifically. I was going to talk about Real Madrid, but since I was kind of known for talking about Messi versus Ronaldo, that was kind of like the big thing that I would speak about on TikTok and on Instagram. I feel like it would be only right to come back speaking about either Messi or Ronaldo. And since I spoke about Ronaldo and how I'm happy for him that he won the Nations League, and for Portugal, he won it, Lamine Yamal still got to go through Messi in the finalism. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah. And he couldn't be one of the GOATs, so let's see if he could beat Messi. Lamine Yamal, even me, sometimes I put this pressure on him where like I see that he's kind of like the main focus, but in reality, it's Spain, Pedri, right? It's Lamine Yamal. You got Dean Huijsen at the center back position, Nico Williams. So Spain is filled with like a lot of great talents, and especially since they are young. And Argentina, man, they won the last World Cup and they just won Copa America last year as well. So we just got to wait and see. I don't know who's going to win it. If I had to make a guess, I think that Argentina might pull through, but it's a 50-50 for me. It depends on whose day it is, right? It could be Spain's day or it could be Argentina's day. But I feel like if a team is going to, and I feel like it's going to be Argentina. But if not, then maybe Spain through penalty shootout, maybe. I don't even know. But yeah, like I said, happy to see Ronaldo lift a trophy again. Happy to see that he won an individual award. Obviously, he was the top scorer of the Nations League at 40 years old, which is incredible. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this tournament. And I just wanted to talk about real quick about what to expect in this channel. Since I did not want it to focus on football. I didn't want it to focus on specifically football. It is going to be kind of majority of the time. It is going to be football. But I would also give myself a chance to kind of shift out of it just so I don't kind of fry my brain. Talk maybe about UFC. Maybe if there's a topic that I just wanted to get off my chest and just come here and talk about it. I don't want to limit myself from not doing that, so I do want to do that as well. But most of the time, like I said, I love Real Madrid. Maybe talk about Real Madrid. If there's any news about Barcelona, since we're in the off season, talk about Barcelona. The Club World Cup is happening soon. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about, and I will try to upload as much as I can. I would try to upload maybe once a week and a couple of clips that follow up with that week. And hopefully I am back to that consistency. And hopefully my cousin does come back and it's both of us again. All right. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you comment your thoughts and your opinions on not just the Nations League, but also me coming back. Give me your honest opinions. And yeah, until then, I'm going to see you guys on the next video. Have a good day.